we're making it harder for people to start companies, not easier.
Yeah.
So
like Sarbanes-Oxley. Clinical.
good example. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on what we could do where we could start with making things easier for new grads, for people to start companies rather than harder.
No, I'll speak to my area of technology, but I could speak to more. You know, the world is moving away from proprietary hardware to standards hardware. You know, you don't have to know much about engineering to watch the progress of computer devices, chipsets that are unbelievable in processing power and the tools that go with them. And so software is replacing more and more the specialized hardware. The other thing is it's mainly brain power. Like it's akin to making newspapers. I mean, the newsprint itself costs almost nothing. But what did you put on that newspaper to make it valuable? So we have to do a lot like that. And we have to create new systems. Now, how do you advise the graduates, the new graduates that are coming along, you know, in school and that? And I mean, I invite you to move, as I was saying earlier, to the higher level, not down to the lower levels. You have to teach the lower levels, but encourage them to go up to the levels of content, applications, solutions. And sometimes you can be quite surprised. You know, long ago I learned, I was on a speaking engagement in New York, and I'll use a couple of technical terms just to illustrate the point. Here I am in New York, and I'm addressing a fairly large crowd, and I'm talking about the move from T1 to T3. Now in US terms, this is 1.5 megabits going to 45 megabits. This is like a huge leap in bandwidth. Here I am, and somebody who was in the crowd said, well, I'm not sure when we'll move to T1. Now, you see, the person in the audience was talking about trading plus 1 day to settlement. And I'm talking about bandwidth. He's talking about his industry and how it's today T3, to trade plus 3 days, and moving to trade plus 1 day with straight-through processing, STP. He's talking STP, I'm talking bandwidth. You see, he's in this narrow little industry. So you have to get used to the terms. And quickly, fortunately, it twigged to me that I'm totally on the wrong plane. I'm down at the growth in bandwidth and how important it is, and he's up at the application layer. You see, in every industry, I don't care whether it's healthcare, and healthcare's huge, and there's, even within healthcare, there's all these verticals even within healthcare. It's just like the government. You say, well, you know, here's somebody over here working in the, in the tax department, and here's someone over here working in, border control. Well, they have different specialties, and they have their own terminology. And you have to learn the terminology in order to use the technologies to take a look at what they do and improve it. So the whole area of information technology, the whole area of applications, the whole area of content is becoming an incredible growth area in every vertical sector you can think of. Every single one. And so that represents for me almost an explosion in global opportunities. Now, in your college, you have a great reputation, and I recommend that you move people to think in terms of solutions and by specific verticals. What vertical? Get used to that. Now, there are all kinds of other areas, so I'm only speaking about my area. The point I'm making, though, is there is a global demand for stuff, not just in the US. If I have a criticism of the US, it sure as hell isn't work ethic. It sure as hell isn't innovative thinking. It's not global enough. Far too many companies think about the domestic market. Well, there's another part of the world out there. Now, I can understand how people can mentally get that way because the US is so big. Most people in the US have never been even to most of the cities in the US because it's already like a continent in its own right. But the fact of the matter is, it's not growing very much right now. When China's growing at 10%, Vietnam's growing at nearly 20%, India's growing at 10%. I mean, these are incredibly growth markets. Have to be global. On a personal level, I could never run a corner store. It would drive me nuts. I might own it 100%, just drive me nuts. I have to go around the world, doing business around the world. Just have to get used to it. That's what I do. And so I encourage you to get the students and the new grads to be more global thinking. That's number one. And two, lift up and think at the higher level. Don't get down into the only down into. You have to be in the trenches too, but always think at the high level too.